I'd like to call our meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, and this is a regular meeting of the Dare County Board of Elections. I'm glad you could be with us. And if you all would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Does anyone have any old business? I know some of it will be covered in our director's report, so we'll move ahead to approval of minutes. And I trust everyone got a chance to look at the minutes that were submitted by Randy. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is misspelled in the first two.
Yeah. I.E., I think is. All right. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes, please.
As corrected.
As corrected. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any other discussion or corrections or additions?
Sandy second. Was Sandy second?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, the minutes are approved, and we'll move to our director's report.
And if you guys will just email me in the future if you see something wrong with the minutes, and then we can get it corrected if I missed something before the. It's on. Okay, I don't have a lot. I just wanted to sort of briefly touch on the Jefferson Griffin protest and what's been going on there, and just kind of remind everyone that we follow our guidance directly from the state. So we don't take any action until we are told to do so. And as of right now, we've not gotten any guidance from the state to do anything as far as list maintenance goes. So we're, as far as proactively doing anything to our voter registration. But on April 11th, the North Carolina Supreme Court issued an order in the election protest brought by the state Supreme Court candidate Jefferson Griffin. In a prior decision, the North Carolina Court of Appeals Court would have required that challenged voters who had allegedly incomplete registrations take certain actions to have their votes remain in the court in the Supreme contest, a general election. Today's order from the Supreme Court changes that. Voters allegedly having incomplete registrations will no longer have their votes impact. And so for us, that was just under 200. I think we had 169 on the list. So we have had people on that list call us and ask if they should update their registration. And so we're letting them know that they're not required to for this case, but that they certainly can, and most of them are doing that. So we're, giving them access to voter registrations through the mail or when they come in the office, and they're updating their information. So the list is smaller at this point. I'm not exactly sure by how much, but we've had quite a few people make contact and get that ID information on their registration. However, for two other groups of challenged voters, the Supreme Court decision would affect their votes. For certain military and overseas citizen voters who use absentee ballots, the Supreme Court's decision would now require them to provide a copy of photo ID or complete an affidavit known as a photo ID exemption form to ensure their votes remain in the count for the contest. The Supreme Court's order today increased the amount of time that affected voter would have to provide their photo ID up to 30 days once they're notified by the county boards of elections. Additionally, for certain voters who, while otherwise eligible, have never resided in the United States but have a connection to North Carolina through their parents, the Supreme Court order today would require those voters' votes to be removed from the Supreme Court contest. So while we did not have a protest for military, from the Jefferson Griffin campaign to challenge any military and overseas voters for photo ID. We did have one with this residency issue. So we had one voter for that. Again, we're not taking any action, but I just kind of want to make y'all aware of who was on our Dare County list. The state board understands there may be further proceedings in federal court before this matter is fully resolved. The State Board of Elections staff are continuing to review the effect of these decisions, and at the appropriate time will provide instructions for county boards of elections and effective voters on how to comply with this decision. This protest does not affect these voter selections in any other contest on the ballot. And I have right on our website, on our main page, I have a link to this press release and then also to the previous information from the court's decision that was done on, I think, April 4th, where the North Carolina Court of Appeals issued a decision. And so there's a link to that. And that one gives a lot of good information, all the background, and then you can read the press release. So all the information is one click on our website for voters. That's all I have about that. March 23rd through the 25th, Rebecca and I attended an NCADE conference in Durham, and that's the North Carolina Association of Directors of Elections. It's a great association. We learned a lot. There's no board members there. It's just directors and staff, and we talk a lot about, office processes and just general day-to-day things, not just with list maintenance, but how we conduct elections. We share a lot of information, everything from budgets to storing materials. So it's a wealth of knowledge for all of us, and a chance for us to get to know each other. And we enjoyed it a lot. We also toured Durham County Board of Elections. They have a new massive building. It is a thing of beauty. It's amazing. So if you ever go to Durham, stop by their Board of Elections. It is incredible. They have a exercise room. The board has their own break room kitchenette. So thanks to Aspires to
Restroom and private restroom.
yeah, they don't have to steal snacks from anywhere. It's all provided for them. They have showers. It's incredible. Their storage was amazing. So it's something to aspire to for sure. It's beautiful. On April 4th, myself and Chairman Saunders attended a budget workshop. I think we both feel it was productive, and I think we're both anticipating a good outcome regarding the commissioner's approval of the funds for our department. They mainly focused on the operating budget and the request for personnel. They did say that there will be the CIP meetings coming up probably in the next few weeks, and that will put more emphasis on large item requests, so the equipment. But I feel pretty comfortable that they're going to make good decisions for us. And then in a previous meeting, and I apologize, I'm not sure who, but someone from the board asked how many counties use the ballot on demand system. And so there's actually 40 counties in North Carolina that use the ballot on demand system at Print Elect. And I actually have a list of those. I won't read them all, but most of them, as I'm going down the list, they use them for absentee and early voting. There's a few that just do absentee, and my guess is that they probably started with that piece and they'll end up building out to their early voting, or they can kind of use it for both. I'm not sure, and there's only a couple that do it just for early voting, but most of them, they use it for absentee and early voting. And like I said previously, I've not heard any negative feedback from the ballot on demand. It seems to just make things more efficient, more secure, smoother, less workers. So, I think it's a good system. And that's all I have.
Kelly, do you know how long the ballot on demand system has been available in this state?
I don't.
Okay, I was just
apologize, I don't.
curious. I mean, 40% of the counties using it.
Mhm.
There's a trend line there that it'd be kind of interesting to know,
Yeah.
but I'm glad that,
And I-
this is something that it looks like we'll be able, there's a strong possibility we'll be funded. To be fair, the commissioners, first of all, I'd like to say, I'd like to commend the commissioners for giving us their support and understanding what our needs are and believing in them. The new position hire that should come out of this, if they vote to fund everything that it sounds like they'll fund, is a really big deal. And, not to diminish the other things that might be funded. And I do want to say that it's not official yet, so I don't want to jump too far out, but it looks like it's going to help us tremendously, and may even give our directors some breathing room to be able to have some time with her family, which is something that everyone should have in their professional life, I think. So it's healthy for everybody all the way around, and it results, I think, the quality of work is improved by being able to refresh and reset. And so we'll be able to better serve our Dare County citizens as a result of that. So I'm really happy, and I commend the commissioners for their support. Amazing support, and they want to know what we do and the stresses that are on our staff. And so, I can't say enough about that, but I do want to say that it's not official yet. That's going to come along in a little while, and I hope that, we end up in the place where we think we're going to end up, which is a good one. So, and I also want to thank Kelly for her continuing hard work to put together a specific Plan B for supporting our needs. That was really a critical piece in this, in giving the commissioners a path that they could live with. So, kudos to you. Good job.
Thank you. I did want to add something that I didn't know. I just recently found out was that they also have provided ballot on demand in a few strategic counties, and they're called state hubs. So I'm not sure if the state purchased them possibly or worked something out, but they're in locations so that in the event that a county gets into trouble, the state hub county can print ballots for them, and they're closer proximity to, so for instance, for us, Pasquotank is a state hub. So if we were to get in a bind, and needed ballots, they could be printed on demand and, got to us within an hour and a half, 2 hours, give or take. So, and they've got several of them: Nash County, Watauga, Scotland County, Pitt. So I think that shows how important and how useful, I guess is better word, for what they think it is, because they know that, in a statewide election where the ballots are the same, they can do that. And I think they might even be able to link in with a file and print exactly your county's ballots and get them to you. So I just thought that was a neat thing to do. And, we can always do that for a neighboring county if they need help. So it's just a really neat system.
Kelly, for the citizens of Dare that may not be familiar with the nomenclature here, or the term ballot on demand, where can they learn more about that system so that, one can be informed
Okay.
about what we're talking about here?
So they can just go to printelect.com. I think it's just printelect.com, and they actually have information on all their pieces of equipment, so they can actually look at the things that we currently use as well as other items. And then once we have a decision on exactly what pieces we are going to purchase, we will invite the vendor back to do another presentation, and we'll advertise that to the public. So then they are more than welcome to come and see a little bit more thorough presentation of the system. We'll also invite the commissioners and anyone else who wants to come, so then they can also see like a hands-on presentation as well of how it works and what it does.
Mhm. I just want to, point of clarification, by the reference to hubs, I don't believe it is the board's intention at this juncture, or the state board's intention at this juncture, to actually seek to outsource or contract any entity to, say, tabulate or do anything in terms of our voting process or counting ballots or votes. That's solely within the jurisdiction of the board and our state legislature, et cetera. So it's because there are, in other states, there are entities that have been contracted to manage the voting process or some piece thereof that has led into questionable practices and suspected inaccuracies in tabulating votes. And I just want to make sure that our voting public understands that that is not the direction that we are going in.
Right. This is just equipment. It's just equipment.
Yeah, just two quick things. Kelly, what is the deadline for the county, for the commissioners to finally approve a budget? So we would be looking forward to knowing in our request what they have said yes to, and then when will that take place?
So I think that they will more than likely have everything tied up in June because the beginning of the fiscal year is July 1. There may be some CIP items or things that they don't have done. Some of their CIP stuff is millions. So I'm not exactly sure, but for general operating budgets, they will have a meeting in May that is open for public comment, I think, for budget items. And then my guess would be in June, they would have that decision, all their budget tied up. And then so that it can go into effect July 1. So I feel like within the next month or so, we should probably have a good idea of, what we're getting so we can move forward.
Okay. And on the ballot on demand equipment, could I only suggest, since it's not under my control, that when the vendor, assuming that's approved and we make that acquisition, that when the vendor comes in and there's a demonstration, that be at a meeting of the board so that it will be recorded and broadcast for people who want to,
Yes, absolutely.
didn't show up, but
Mhm.
have interest when they hear about it, and there'll be an official visual record of the presentation.
Right, and that would be good because then they could watch a live stream of it. Mhm. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'd like to clarify one thing in terms of the budget and when we would know something. Want everybody to understand that our budget and then the commissioner's budget is postulated on the state passing their budget. So officially, from what I learned on the Board of Education, is that's when the gate opens. Now I might be wrong about that. The commissioners, that's a question for, I guess, the county manager or the chairman of the Board of Commissioners in terms of, the timing and the rhythm on that. But that happens, I believe, after July 1st. So, have you heard anything to the contrary on that?
Yeah, it's my understanding that they have the operating budget approved because it goes into effect July 1.
Right, okay.
So again, I don't know if that includes some of their state funding items. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's always been, because our fiscal year starts July 1. So, because we had to have everything in back in February.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know how they can start moving forward with personnel and,
Yeah.
operating, they give you the money, you can start spending it July 1. And so, it has to be approved, at least a portion. So I would think most, if not all of what our budget would be done by July 1, but I can double check that.
Well, it's approximately when it'll happen, and so, I mean, I think regardless, we're in a good place. We're in a good place with all of it, with
Because
us.
is the Board of Ed's they're state funded, right?
Well,
They just get county amounts. Oh, I'm sorry, they get county amounts, but their actual budget is state. So that may be why.
not completely.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, actually, the Board of Education is the largest expense of this county,
right.
in all counties, pretty much. And so, that it may be that it all kind of happens at the same time, right before July 1st, so that the counties can get going, although we did experience delays,
Yeah.
where the state was waddling around trying to figure out how they were going to fund and what they were going to fund. So, but I think July 1 is a good date to know, approximately that the gate will open for us to be able to get on with it, with what we need to do. So
Mhm.
anyway, it's all good. Anybody have anything else? Sandy, you good?
Not on this.
Okay. Everybody good? Okay. Kelly, do you have anything? Oh, go ahead.
Just appreciation to staff, Kelly and Chairman, for all their work on the budget issues. And of course, thanks to all the board members for their support for the work that was done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And in my remarks, I've already kind of said what I wanted to say, except for one thing. I wanted to let the board know that next month's meeting will be my last meeting, and I'll be withdrawing and resigning from the board effective June 1st. And so, and I do want to make one thing completely clear. There's no controversy around that decision or anything there. And in fact, quite the contrary. I want you all to know, and I'll have more to say about this later, but it's been an absolute profound honor to work with every one of you on this board and on our elections, and work for our Dare County citizens on their elections. This has been an incredible time for me in my life, and I really mean it. I mean, you guys have done tremendous work, and the main thing is that we've maintained an atmosphere of collegiality and civility here. That is something that every one of us can be proud of, especially with a political maelstrom swirling around outside the door. I've told people that this has been an oasis of single-minded work on elections in service to our voters. And that is the highest honor in terms of working for our democracy. So I just want everybody to be completely clear about that. This has been quite an experience for me, and I've loved working with every one of you. So I hope you can maintain that atmosphere. So anyway, does anybody have anything else?
I do.
Okay.
First, I want to say I'm very saddened to hear that you're leaving. You add so much to this process. I don't know that you can be replaced. It's been a short period for me working with you in this particular position, but I've been working with you since you came on the board as a member of a person running a polling place, and you have been most supportive and wonderful to us. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Last weekend, or the weekend before last, we had a community event in KDH, and I was approached by Mayor John Windley about a continuing problem that happens at the polling place in KDH. He has discussed this with me several times. It is the confusion that results for voters between KDH and Collington. It has gone on as long as I have been here. I don't think much about it. We walk out, we announce to the line that if you live in Collington, you need to be somewhere else. And we try to not have them wait and find out when they get to check in that they're in the wrong spot. Some people, though, are determined and they wait till they get there. I'm not really sure why the mayor is so concerned about this, but he is, and he thinks maybe there's something we can do to lessen this. I've explained to him that everyone receives a voter registration card that shows clearly where they vote. And certainly they have, anyone who has been to KDH that belongs at Liberty, that it has been explained to them in detail during municipals when they come. He thinks that maybe we could put up a sign or we could put ads in the paper. But I just thought I would bring it up so that you're aware that he has these concerns and that, maybe if we think about it, there is something more we can do. I'm not sure what it is.
So we definitely could do ads in the paper. They're pretty expensive. We can try that. Very few people read the paper. I found out we can put something on our site. We can ask PR to put something on their main page and the social media pages. We have sandwich boards that maybe we can kind of pepper out in the areas that say, something, do you live in Collington? This is not yours. I don't know. We can come up with something that grabs their eye right away. Because, and I wonder if some of the confusion is because I had someone call and they said, well, I know that I voted there last year, and they were adamant. So when I looked them up, they absolutely did vote there last year. They voted early.
Mhm.
So one year they voted early, which is where you go to vote, is Kill Devil Hills. The next year it was on election day, and they were so upset. They waited. Then they got to vote. They got turned away, had to go to the church. And after they finally voted, they called us upset. And so, unfortunately, maybe we can put something. I think Liberty kind of is like a path in a way. So there may be something we can put at the road. But usually there is candidate signage, which
Right.
is a sort of red flag that there's something going on there. But, and we have the vote here sign. Maybe we can do something at the road. But you just have to be careful with things like that because our weather, wind, it's sometimes difficult to find things that are stable and not more of a hazard than a help when it comes to signage. But I'm willing to do anything we can to make sure that we don't put them through any unneeded hassle of going to the wrong place because that's frustrating. And I understand that. I think the fact that there's always this sort of residence turnover.
Mhm.
Collington is huge. It's
Yes.
thousands and thousands of residents, and they're growing. I think there's a lot of turnover, a lot of renters in and out. So they don't know where they're supposed to go. So, but we do have like sandwich boards for sure and things like that we can work on. I've got some metal signs. There's nothing in them, but maybe we can get together and come up with something. They're pretty heavy. They might do good.
I think any little thing that would help. I think that there will always be people that try to come.
Yeah.
The only time there have been people that I know I spoke to them when they were in line, but they insisted on staying. And those are the ones that come up to check in and get turned away because we cannot vote them on election day.
No.
And so I'm not sure why they don't believe us,
Mhm.
but they don't. And I think there will always be some of those people, but we can try the signage or something that we come up with
Yeah.
between now and then. The time that it's during municipals, they can be argumentative because they are certain that they live in KDH.
Right.
And they are certain that the decisions that the KDH board makes affects them, which of course it does not, but,
Yeah. And I think for that's probably even more frustrating for them because like on a general or statewide or countywide election, you can at least send them somewhere to
Right,
vote.
right.
But in a municipal, they cannot vote if they live in Collington. So they're being turned away with nowhere to go. And that might fuel a little bit more of their
Agreed.
frustration. But
Yeah.
that, unfortunately, even with the sign, like you say, they may not believe you if it's not just that they're in the wrong location, but that they are ineligible to participate. So so that helps me because so we want to tailor our message, not just you go here instead of here, but in a municipal,
You don't.
you don't
Yeah,
vote.
yeah.
You're not eligible because of where you
Correct.
live.
Yeah, it's, I'm on the board at the animal shelter too, and the same thing happens there with KDH has their own animal control and Nags Head, but nobody gets that. The way this island is set up is very confusing with town, unincorporated. And I think a lot of people get confused about a lot of things that go on from a civic standpoint of where do I go or who do I call? And I know with the shelter, we've tried to come up with ways to explain that to people. But it's the same way. I live behind the Collington Fire Station, and I've always worked our elections at the fire station or at Liberty. And I think if the municipal definitely confuses people, definitely. But if there was just a sign that said, if you live in the Collington precinct, this is your polling place, but you get it more than we didn't get it because they're going to you because, oh, I live in KDH because that's what my mailing address says. It's very confusing back there.
That's the key right there. That's
Yeah.
where the confusion comes from, is the fact that they have a post office zip code that tells
Yeah.
them they're in Kill Devil Hills.
Yeah,
Yet the vote is
Yeah.
contrary to that. You know,
Yeah,
their
exactly.
polling place is contrary to that. That's the root of the problem.
Mhm.
And so maybe the PR folks can come up with some way to address that from that point of view. You know, that, I mean, I might be wrong about that or partially wrong, but I think that that's where the confusion is.
Yeah, because we have a similar situation in Manio, where people aren't sure. They just see the vote signs are up, so they come in and they want to vote. And it's only for the town of Manio, so we do turn people away. We don't see too much of a anger issue. Most of them are just, oh, okay, and they seem to be okay with it. But so I don't know if it's because he's getting the phone calls, being the mayor. I'm not sure but the munis, we typically don't have that much of a turnout anyway. So I'm guessing it's still maybe a small portion, but we can do what we can to get more publicity around the fact of, especially the munis, there is an eligibility to living in the municipalities, and Collington is not part of that. So we'll work on some press for that.
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything else? John?
Mr. Chair, it's been an honor to serve with you. From day one, you welcomed me with just warmth, humility, and your competence as chair here has been very impressive to me. I'm saddened to hear that you're not going to continue, so
Thanks, John.
thank you.
Thank you. All right.
From the far left of the table, I will add my add my thanks and appreciation, Skip, for your service, not only on behalf of the board, but the community. And particularly since the day you assumed that chair, your goal to educate the public about the work we do and the work the staff does so that more and more people would understand the process and some of the mystery and confusion can be dissipated. I think that's been an important effort in your term as chair, and hopefully that can continue by your successor, whoever that may be. And, but I want to appreciate it, and I appreciate the time that I have spent working with you and of course with the other members of the board as well. But thank you.
Thank you, Randy. All right. Anything else? Anybody have any other comments or any business? All right, I don't have anything else. And so seeing that Kelly staff doesn't, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Our next meeting is May 20th. So I hope to see you all here. Thank you very much. I'll miss the gavel.